Forever Dolphin Love, Connan Mockasin. This is one of my favourite reworks, and I can remember that it was made pretty fast because I had the idea in my head as to what it should sound like and all the parts that I would need to add to turn it into a track that worked in a club on a dance floor but could also work as a standalone song in its own right. And that's a very important thing for me, to be able to make a rework or a remix or recontextualize someone else's song, but it remain or become a good record in itself. A big problem that I have, or I've always had in remixing, is that, or it is quite simple to make something that can be effective in a club, but it could also be quite transitory and not really have any kind of substance about itself, and almost be musical detritus. For a song like this, and with many of the songs that I end up working into, I want to make something that will live on, or something that can be listened to outside of the context of a club and affect somebody or move somebody or have them enjoy it, or whatever it could be. So working with a song like Forever Dolphin Love, which in its own right is very melancholy, is quite tricky, because you need to inject just enough energy to make it work on a dance floor, retain the aspect of a song, and retain the magic that the original has. So the thing that worked for me was that I dreamed this rework and this mix before I'd made it. I had the original song going around in my head, and the bass line started to evolve in my mind, and then whenever I played the song in my head, the bass line was always there. So that became the real starting point for the whole mix. And what I had to do was go in and first of all had to kind of straighten out the original audio, because when Connan recorded it, he didn't record it to any click track or grid or anything like that, so the tempo wavered. So I had to do a bit of work in getting that in time, which then meant everything I added on top of that was going to fall into place. So there's a little bit of kind of housekeeping involved beforehand, but when you get that in place, whatever you add from that point tends to work, and it means that you don't end up doing that housework halfway through a mix, which can then kind of slow you down. And if things slow you down, then you can lose your vision or your enthusiasm for something. And if that happens, then it can end up from being something that can take 6 hours to taking 6 days. And I learned that the hard way. So I did all my housekeeping on it first, got the track to a point where, by simply putting a 4/4 across it and retaining the instrumentation that I wanted to keep from the original, have it so it would all lock together, and that was happening. So from that point, I programmed in the bass line, fired the MIDI out from that into an SH1, which is one of my favourite synths. It's an old Roland synth from 1979. It's got a really kind of clunky and punchy bass sound to it. It's very similar to the SH101, but a bit more random. It's got a chance to go out of tune a little bit more, or it does these kind of funny, weird things, which I don't mind, and they tend to add to the character of the sound. So once I'd got the MIDI in on that and the track in place, I kind of structured the track as to how I wanted it to unfold, and I can't remember how long this mix is. It's probably about 9 minutes or something to that extent. It's quite a long one. But because there's all these different sections to it, it doesn't feel that long. It feels like it's kind of constantly moving into different rooms. So once the bass line was in, I had this melody line in my head, which I kept thinking was... Well, I knew it wasn't nicked off another artist, but it sounded very much like Talk Talk. I just went to the Juno and started playing it in by freehand, and the melody just kind of fell out my hand and into the computer. And I ended up double tracking it or triple tracking it a few times, and then went and got this plugin. That's a free plugin. It's a free Juno emulator that I matched the setting on the real Juno to the plugin and programmed in the MIDI for that, so it'd be exactly the same as what I played by freehand, and just to see what the sound would be like. And it was quite different, but when you put the two sounds together, it created something really beautifully harmonic. So did that a few times, and then before I knew it, like, there was almost everything that I needed in the track there, because obviously Connan's original version has so much character and has movement and wonderful instrumentation in there, which was being carried over into the remix. I remember near the end there was there's this really beautiful end coda part that I could hear an additional guitar line in, and my instrument of choice, I suppose, my main instrument, especially from growing up, is guitar. So I plugged my Fender Jaguar into a Korg Stage Echo, got this really nice tape delay on there, and just started playing in that guitar line that you hear at the end a few times. And I definitely was kind of feeling the spirit of Johnny Marr around the Meat is Murder album. I think in particular Well I Wonder was one of the songs that was kind of coming to me, and I was probably trying to conjure up a similar kind of feeling that song gives me in that end section. And other than that, it all kind of fell into place really nicely. The sound of the track, the sound of this remix, is something I'm really proud of, because it's very cloudy sounding but really punchy. And I mixed it on a Trident Flexi Mix, which is an old 70s mixer. I'd had it for a few years by that point, but hadn't used it to enough. So I made a point of using it on this track, and it really added to the tone of the remix. It really gave it a real dusty, warm, loosey, hazy sort of feeling. And I think it's possibly one of my favourite ones that I've done. No, it definitely is one of my favourite ones.